Hello, this is Linda Keith, and I am following up on a webinar, 60-minute webinar on global cash flow of tax returns when you have multiple pass-through entities in the mix. Another question related to owner cash flow is in-kind contributions versus cash contributions. And by the way, this comes into the distribution side as well, in-kind versus cash. I would like to know which they have. If I've got really large amounts of contributions, I'd like to know which it is. Again, I'd like to know how it was used so I can decide whether I think it's continuing. If it's the distribution side, the 1065 actually tells you by its code which it has. And you can go on irs.gov and you can look at page 2 of each of those K1s, the 1120S and the 1065. And you can actually see whether it was cash or property distributed. That's only in the 1065. 1120S, it doesn't split it out for you, which is, by the way, a really good example of how, I hate to say it, but the IRS doesn't care about you. The forms are not designed to make it easy for you. What type of business they are in is in a different place on an S Corp, on a 1065, on 1120. You can't necessarily go on patterns on this. You learn something about one return, it does not apply to the next one. That comes into play here as well. What's on an S Corp K1 is not necessarily on a 1065 K1. But again, if you want to know what these codes mean, you can always look to page 2 of the 1120S K1 or the 1065 K1. You can find it in my partnership corporation manuals with explanation. You also can at least look at that page from irs.gov. Are distributions always cash or property? Oh, or do accountants sometimes use these to adjust retained earnings for other reasons? If they're doing it, I don't understand why. It should be cash or property distributions, and they should just make an adjustment somewhere else if that's what they need to do. Do you think it's necessary to verify that line 16D was distributed in cash? I had an OCC examiner doubt that a distribution was in cash. I think it depends. If that distribution is comparable to the other years and there's plenty of liquidity in the company, I'm not that concerned with whether it was actually cash or not, if it could have been cash. But if I've got 3 years and all of a sudden there's this huge distribution on 16D that isn't typically there for them, then I might have a question. Not only is it cash, but is it recurring?